that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident. It is interesting, you know. It sounds rather kind of bizarre, but I did go to Diana's coffin the day after I had written it. Princess Diana was buried on September 6, 1997. Her funeral was watched by over 2 billion people, making it one of the largest outpourings of sadness in modern history. She was laid to rest on a small island, sitting in the middle of a lake at Althorp, her family's estate. For 27 years her grave stayed completely untouched, a peaceful and quiet place for the people's princess, surrounded by water, and only reachable by her close family. But that has now changed. I am about to share information that the Spencer family wanted to keep completely private. This secret was supposed to stay hidden forever. But some things simply cannot stay buried. They opened Princess Diana's tomb. The reasons behind this decision had to do with structural concerns and legal issues that had to be dealt with. But what was found inside shocked every single person who was there. It was not because anything was wrong or because of some dark conspiracy. It was what Diana had left behind. Items buried with her that no one knew anything about. These were messages meant to be found only when her grave was eventually opened. This final communication changes everything we thought we knew about her last days. I have to be careful here because the Spencer family has asked for privacy. They did not give anyone permission to share this information, but the people who were there when they opened the tomb have been talking. This information has leaked out, and the story that is coming to light is too important to just ignore. Princess Diana seemed to know she was going to die soon. While she may not have known exactly when, she prepared in ways we are only just now finding out about. Let us go through what happened, why they opened the tomb, what they found inside, and why Diana's final messages are causing shock waves throughout the royal family and the whole world. This is a story that was never meant to be shared. Let us get into it. Why was the tomb opened after 27 years? For almost 30 years Diana's grave was kept completely sealed. She is buried on a small island at Althorp that you can only reach by boat. Family members would occasionally visit the island to pay their respects, but they never touched or disturbed her grave. So why was it being opened now after 27 whole years? The official reason has to do with the tomb's structure. It sits on an island in a decorative lake, and over time water can cause serious problems for burial sites. There were worries about water seeping in, the stability of the burial chamber, and preservation issues that needed to be checked on. Diana's brother Earl Spencer had an engineering survey done a few years ago. The results were serious enough that further action had to be taken, even though it was not an emergency. Diana's burial site is different from most royal and upper-class graves, which are usually inside churches or old cemeteries. Her grave on the island was symbolic but unusual, raising real questions about how well it would hold up over time. The 27-year mark also matters. Legally, some places have rules about grave sites and what has to be done after certain amounts of time have passed. The laws in Britain about private burials are complicated, but there may well have been legal reasons for this timing too. On top of that, sources say that William and Harry both wanted to know the condition of their mother's grave. They wanted reassurance that she was at peace, that her grave was secure, and that time had not damaged what should last forever. For whatever reason, the decision was made to open the tomb. A small team was put together to handle this, with very tight security and a commitment to keeping it secret. on a quiet day when the press was not told until afterward. Diana's tomb was opened for the first time since 1997. What they found inside was beyond anyone's expectations. The moment they opened the tomb, the process of accessing Diana's grave was done with great care and attention. This was not something rushed. It was a carefully planned process that brought in experts in preservation engineering and funeral services. The team arrived at Althorp before the sun came up. The estate was closed to all visitors and most of the staff were kept away from the area. Only a small number of people knew what was happening, and they all agreed to keep it completely secret. Earl Spencer was there. William was also said to be present, but some reports say he arrived later. Whether Harry was there is not totally clear, but sources say he was kept informed and may have joined through a video call from California. Opening the tomb took several hours. The team worked slowly and carefully to avoid causing any damage. Engineers documented everything very carefully, and photographers took pictures of each step for historical records. When the burial chamber was finally visible, everyone stood in complete silence for several minutes. They were not upset or frightened. The moment just felt very heavy with emotion. It was the first time they had seen Diana's final resting place since the day of her funeral. The burial chamber was in pretty good shape. The worries about water damage turned out to be less serious than everyone had expected. Diana's casket was still intact and the environment inside had been sealed the right way. But then, during the assessment, the team found something that surprised everyone. There were items in the burial chamber that were not listed in the original funeral records. These objects appeared to have been added secretly either during the funeral itself or sometime after. They were things Diana had chosen to be buried with that nobody else knew about. This discovery changed everything. It was no longer just an engineering survey. It had become something far more significant. The family now needed to decide how to move forward. Earl Spencer asked everyone except immediate family members to step back and give them space. What happened next took place privately, but the emotional reactions of the people who came out afterward made it very clear that something truly important had been found. The secret items buried with Diana. When Diana was buried in 1997, the items placed with her were carefully written down and recorded. These included photographs of her two sons, a rosary given to her by Mother Teresa, who had passed away that same week, a prayer book, and little keepsakes from her life. But when her tomb was opened, they found items that were not on the official list anywhere. Diana had secretly arranged for these items to be added, and only a small number of trusted people knew about them for 27 years. Among the most important discoveries were letters. These were sealed envelopes that Diana had prepared before she died. They were addressed to specific people and were only meant to be opened when her grave was eventually accessed someday. There was a letter to William, a letter to Harry, a letter to her brother Charles, and possibly letters to other important people in Diana's life, whose names have not been shared publicly. The fact that these letters existed suggests strongly that Diana knew she might die. She prepared messages for her loved ones and made sure they would be preserved in a place she knew would eventually be opened, even if it took decades. But the letters were not the only discoveries. There were also documents that Diana wanted to preserve, but could not keep out in the open during her life. The full details of these documents have not been shared, because the family has kept this information very private. But sources say they relate to her time spent in the royal family and her concerns about certain things she had seen and experienced. Some documents had to do with her marriage. They included not just her feelings but also practical matters like financial arrangements, agreements that were made and promises that were broken. Diana kept a careful record of what she was told and what she saw with her own eyes. Other documents covered bigger issues within the palace itself. Diana wrote down decisions she disagreed with and behaviors she found really troubling. Even though she was part of the family, she often felt like an outsider and saw things very differently than those who had grown up inside that world for a long time. There are also documents about specific things that happened that were covered up or not told truthfully at the time. Diana's notes might give a completely different side of the story that challenges what the world was officially told. On top of that, some materials deal with Diana's worries about her own safety. She wrote notes about things that concerned her and wrote down conversations that felt threatening and scary to her. Her now famous letter, predicting that she would die in a car accident, is something people already know about, but there may be other notes that actually help explain how she came to make that prediction. Now the family is faced with a decision about what to do with these documents. They could be sealed up again and returned to the tomb or kept in family archives. The family might decide to share some of them with historians or keep absolutely everything private. William and Harry actually have different opinions on this. William is in favor of keeping things private while Harry wants more openness and transparency. This disagreement shows their very different views on the monarchy and on how they want to protect their mother's legacy. Earl Spencer, as the head of the Spencer family and the caretaker of Althorp, where Diana is buried, plays a very important role in these decisions. He has not publicly shared his thoughts on the documents, but sources suggest he is being very careful about anything that could put his sister's memory on display for the public to pick apart. The royal family's reaction to the discoveries. When the palace heard about what had been discovered in Diana's tomb, the reaction was fast and strong. This was not just some old historical finding. It could cause real harm to living members of the royal family right now. King Charles found out about the tomb opening within just a few hours. His reaction was complicated and mixed. On one hand, these materials belonged to his late ex-wife and the mother of his children. There is real emotional weight in that, no matter what problems existed in their relationship. On the other hand, Charles knows exactly what Diana might have written. He knows what happened during their marriage and what she was there to witness. If her documents back up what she said before they were out there, they could seriously hurt his already complicated legacy. Camilla's response was simpler and more direct. Fear. Diana's feelings about Camilla were never hidden. If the documents contain specific accusations, detailed accounts, or evidence of things that have been denied all along, Camilla could find herself facing fresh and very angry public backlash. Sources say the palace has unofficially reached out to Earl Spencer asking about the contents of the documents. They want to understand what they are dealing with and be ready with responses if needed. They may even be looking to negotiate some kind of access or control over the materials. So far, Spencer has said no to these requests. The materials belong to the Spencer family and were found at a Spencer family burial site. The royal family has absolutely no legal claim to them. Whatever Diana documented is owned by her blood relatives, and not by the institution she married into. This situation has created real tension between the two sides. The palace does not like being unable to control information. They have spent years carefully managing Diana's legacy, deciding what gets released and how it gets presented. The discovery in the tomb threatens that control in a big way. William finds himself caught in the middle, as he so often is when issues relating to his mother come up. He is a Spencer by blood, but also the future king. His loyalty is split between protecting his mother's truth and protecting the institution he will one day lead. In the coming months there will almost certainly be ongoing talks between the Spencer family and the palace. The question of what actually happens to Diana's documents may take years to fully settle. What this all means for Diana's legacy and the future. 27 years after she died, letters and documents from Princess Diana are now starting to come to light. She always knew how to communicate and connect with people, as shown so clearly in her famous Panorama interview. What has recently been found about her tomb suggests that she thought very deeply about her legacy before she died. She wanted her voice to still be heard, which makes complete sense when you think about the pressures and dangers she faced every day. Now there is a real debate about whether these materials should be made public or kept private. Some people believe she wanted her words shared as one final message to the world, while others think her sons should read them in peace without everything becoming a very public event.